Yo! What's up, diggity dogs?
You're watching Fugitive Red Eye, and welcome to another episode of Red Eye Responds, the series where I take videos and I respond to them. Plain and simple as that. Today we're talking to a channel I've done videos on a couple of times. Most Amazing Top 10, which is the most creative name ever. Good job, guys. And these are some very stupid Top 10 Scary Nickelodeon Theories videos. So, let's dive into this shite.
Basically, it says that all of the characters from our beloved 90s cartoon series, they're all dead, and they're just all figments of Angelica's diabolical imagination.
You're not just wrong, you're stupid. And you're ugly, just like your mum.
Oh boy, starting off with worst first. The Rugrats theory. I've talked about this multiple times, and I'm pretty sure I talked about it in response to this channel before, so really stretching things thin, aren't you? But the Rugrats theory is absolute garbage. It's one of the worst theories, and it's very easily debunked, but let's hear him out anyway. Also, I will say this guy doesn't have the rockin' hairdo that the Bob Ross-looking guy that they has, so, I mean, this is a little bit, you know, less cool. Yeah, specifically it refers to the Rugrats themselves, the children, right? But, that doesn't make any sense, because Angelica wasn't introduced until, like, the second or third episode, if you factor in the pilot, mind you, because she wasn't in the pilot. Which, as far as I know, is still canon. Maybe it's not. But she's not in several episodes, so if it was all part of her imagination, why isn't she in every single episode? Not to mention Susie interacts with the kids too, and the theory doesn't state that Susie's in her imagination. And why do they always have to all be dead? Why is that such a common trait with these bad cartoon conspiracy theories?
Chucky died in 1986 with his mother, and that's why his father is a nervous wreck.
Ah yes, Chaz is a nervous wreck, therefore Chucky must have died. Checks out. Not a stretch at all. No, it's a serious fucking stretch. And I remember, I've heard people tell this theory before, and it also says that people humor him and pretend that Chucky's actually there. It's so reaching! What the fuck?
Tommy was born in 1988, but he was a stillborn. That's why his father is constantly in the basement building toys for his son.
What am I watching? I don't know, but I hate it.
What the fuck is this correlation? How do you make that connection? I know it's not you, it's this theory. But this theory is so bad. How does anyone make this connection? Oh, he makes toys, therefore Tommy was stillborn. What? It's like the thing where they say Kevin died in a bike accident in the Ed, Edd n Eddy theory, so therefore that's why he's always riding his bike. Never mind the fact that he's not always riding his bike, but you know.
And twins were actually aborted in the 1990.
But no elaborate reason on that one? No thing that, oh, this is why Betty is this is why Howie is this. No, nothing like that. Just, oh, they were aborted in 1990. Moving on. But, what? Where did they get this? And also, do you not know their names? He said the twins. Actually, he said twins. He didn't say the twins. He said twins were actually aborted, but, you know. Their names are Phil and Lil, in case you don't remember that. So, for someone who supposedly likes and watches Rugrats, because he does say right here that his childhood is ruined, so he clearly, quote-unquote, likes Rugrats. Here, listen.
I mean, I think my childhood is literally ruined now. And
why don't you know Phil and Lil's name? Philip and Lillian. Come on. It's not that hard.
The Smurfs are racist. What?
How are the Smurfs related to Nickelodeon? Like, first off, this is stupid, and I'm already going to criticize the hell out of it, but how are they Nickelodeon? Let me check something. Yeah, I looked online, and there are literally no times that the Smurfs have ever had any connection to Nickelodeon, so this shouldn't even be on this Nickelodeon list. By the way, I had Nickelodeon in air quotes, but this isn't visual, so, you know.
You know, the blue little guys. This theory is referring to the Smurfs as blue supremacists, and I'll explain why.
I'm blue, da-ba-dee-da-ba-da-da-ba-dee-da-ba-day.
Apparently the Smurfs are actually a racist and Nazi-like cult because of their pointed white hat and their leader's pointed red hat, which is pretty related to the KKK.
Ah yes, these guys are wearing similar outfits, therefore must be the same. Correlation is not causation, and I don't know if there's any truth to any similarities there, but that doesn't make them racist in universe just because they happen to have these outfits. We'll let him continue, but again, with the reaching, I mean, Papa Smurf has the red outfit to know that he's Papa Smurf, to know he's the leader, right? And granted, yes, I know Grand Wizards typically wear red. if that's even what they're called. The Clan has a bunch of stupid-ass names for their members. They got, like, wizards and dragons and cyclopses and shit. It's a stupid organization with a bunch of, like, cool-sounding names because they want to seem, like, much more badass than they are, obviously. But also, you said Nazi. The Clan and Nazis are kind of different things. I understand there's overlap, and they're both awful, obviously, but to try and just say, oh, they're a Nazi group because the Klan, not necessarily true, even if that was. I mean, I think you're stretching anyway. I think this is all a bunch of nonsense. But let's let him continue.
And let's talk about how the first comic strip titled The Black Smurfs is actually pretty inappropriate when you analyze it. In this comic, when the Smurfs become sick, they turn black. And when they become black, they lose all traces of their intelligence, they can no longer speak. Because of this, US publishers refused to publish this comic, and
I mean, maybe you got something there. I mean, US publishers wouldn't publish it. Maybe. I still think it's a bit of a stretch, but maybe.
Years later, the Smurfs were actually recolored from blue to purple.
That just kind of feels irrelevant. Like, I know he's trying to say, oh, blue supremacy or some weird shit like that right now, but being recolored from blue to purple does not make that any different if that is in fact the intent behind this, which again, I still don't think it is. So just saying, oh, they were changed from blue to purple, that to me feels kind of irrelevant.
Well, there are so many other racist moments that can be found in the Smurfs, but I'm not trying to make this video an hour long and, you know what, demonetized, so let's move on.
Ah, yes, I have plenty of other compelling evidence, but, you know, I'm not going to show you that. That's fine. Forget it. No, that's reaching, and then he doesn't present any other ideas, and he says, oh, there's plenty of others, but I'm not going to get into that. No, fuck you. The Smurfs thing is just as stupid and reaching, and again, isn't Nickelodeon. It isn't fucking Nickelodeon. It also isn't particularly scary. It might have a troubled past. I mean, there's plenty of things that have racism in them, like Looney Tunes has had some racist sketches and stuff, but it's not scary. If anything, it's just something to look back on and be like, oh god, I can't believe people used to do shit like this. But that's not really scary.
Doug is actually insane, and this takes us to number 8.
You know, I'm honestly not that fond of Doug, so I'm actually going to forego this one, but I assume it's similar to the Rugrats theory, so I assume it's similarly stupid.
Next up on this list, number 7, Ren and Stimpy. So basically, looking back at this entire show, I'm just going to go out and say it. Everything is wrong with this show.
I mean, there's a lot of controversial things about this, but is there going to be a theory here? I'll let you continue, but this is supposed to be theories. Keep that in mind.
But seriously, literally everything about this show is messed up.
I don't know about literally everything, but sure, it has some controversial moments.
And I can't believe that our parents actually let us watch this.
I can. Pussy. In all honesty, Ren and Stimpy's not even the most controversial kids show. I've seen much worse. I mean, it's up there, sure, but like, Rocco's Modern Life was pretty out there too, because Rocco's Modern Life had a lot of, like, I think it depends on how you define what's more messed up. Ren and Stimpy was more violent, but Rocco's Modern Life had more sexual content, and I would argue violence is probably worse. But we have it ass backwards over here in the West. But I will say, Rocco's Modern Life did have, like, blood and stuff in it too, occasionally, so it's like they were both on par. But, yeah, how is this a theory? Continue.
In case you guys forget what this show was like, well, let me give you guys a little bit of a sample.
Do you think we could... Oh, poo-poo. You're probably too tired again. Oh, Stimpy!
You need to be stopped!
Are you fucking retarded? That's not Ren and Stimpy, that's Ren and Stimpy the adult party cartoon. That is not the kids show. That is the adult reboot. That is not a scene from the Nickelodeon show. So when you try to say, oh, how could we watch this when we were younger? This is not the original series, this is the adult spin-off, you fucking moron!
Is this real life right now? What did we just watch? Apparently this show wasn't supposed to be targeted towards kids.
Well, it's true the original was not. That one certainly wasn't, because that was the adult party cartoon you showed a fucking clip from. So yes, while the original was intended for an older audience as well, and then was made on Nickelodeon, so it kind of became a kid show, that is not a clip from the original. That is from the Spike TV reboot, the Ren and Stimpy adult party cartoon, specifically from the episode Onward and Upward, which in my opinion is the worst episode of the adult party cartoon, so there you go.
But I know a lot of people who used to watch this when we were younger.
That's because though the original was aimed at an older audience, it was still technically a kids show and it was on Nickelodeon. That clip, however, was not from that. What the fuck is your problem? Do you do no goddamn research?
But somehow, it was only rated 13+, so...
Not that one. That's the adult party cartoon, which was TVMA. The original was TVY7, actually, so you're wrong on both accounts.
Doug is on drugs.
I assume this is similar to the other one, which I assume is similar to the Rugrats theory, or is similar to, like, oh, it was all a dream, or it is in a I don't care, I didn't watch Doug that much, so we're gonna forego it.
Let's over to the show Caillou, and
Caillou wasn't on fucking Nickelodeon.
let's talk about Caillou's baldness. I know I'm not the only one wondering why this whiny kid is still bald.
Some kids don't have hair. It just happens.
But as it turns out, there is a dark explanation for this.
$5 says he claims it's cancer.
This theory has been around for years, and it says that Caillou actually has cancer.
0 out of 10. Predictable. I'm moving on.
Moving up this list, number 4, Steve from Blue's Clues is on a very long drug-induced trip.
Fuck you!
I'm not gonna give this one the time of day. I'm getting sick of this type of theory. It's all, oh, they're on drugs, oh, they're in a coma, oh, it's all in their head. Fuck this.
Dill is brain damaged, and this sad theory takes us to number 3.
Okay, Dill being brain damaged actually might be one that could actually work, because especially if you watch All Grown Up, he does seem kind of retarded. So let's hear him out on this one. Maybe this is a solid one. But it's also not particularly scary, but okay. Maybe dark. Maybe when they say scary, they mean dark.
But what if I told you guys something that might ruin the show? Are you still with me? Well, do you guys remember Dill Pickles?
Yes, do you, Mr. Can't remember the name of the fucking twins?
He was Tommy's younger brother and Angelica's cousin, the evil Angelica. So
Why did you have to emphasize, oh, the evil Angelica? Is that relevant right now?
as it turns out, Angelica hit him super hard on the head.
Alright, I'm giving up on this theory now, too, because in All Grown Up, they imply it might have been Phil and Lil that dropped him on his head, so... no, I'm done. Sorry. And again, maybe, I mean, he still is pretty retarded and All Grown Up, so, I mean, this theory's not that far off, but still.
Dora is being controlled by strangers.
When I saw Dora, I thought it was going to be the one about her having Down syndrome, but okay, I guess that's not the one we're doing, so let's hear him out.
To help her out with her adventures, she often turns to the camera and asks for advice.
So?
That also happens in Blue's Clues and many other Nick Jr. shows. Who'da thunk it?
Well, as it turns out, Dora is a prisoner and she has lost her ability to have free will.
Oh boy, another one that's a stretch. I mean, all of these are stretches, but still, god damn it. This is dumb. This is a bad video.
And at number 1, we have a serial killer on our hands. We're talking about cartoons and serial killers. I mean, these two just shouldn't mix.
I mean, kids' cartoons, maybe they shouldn't, but I don't have a problem with a serial killer cartoon. I realize he means kids' cartoons, but still.
So, the question is, who could potentially be a killer?
Oh, I see. The goal is to try and find a serial killer, not to say, oh, this character is a serial killer. What you want to do is try and make one up based on some bullshit, rather than actually saying, oh, this character could be. You're like, no, let's see who could be. Let's try to find one. Okay.
And it's not Angelica or Roger. It's actually Tommy's father, Stu Pickles. I mean...
Okay, so that first thing was a rhetorical framing device, so he did have someone in mind to begin with. Okay, fair enough. But still, no, Stu is not a serial killer, but let's hear this dumbass out.
First, we learned that Diddy Pickles might be an adult star.
Diddy Pickles? Yeah, you never watched Rugrats a day in your life. Diddy Pickles? Like fucking Diddy Kong.
Tommy, I feel bad for the guy. I feel bad for the baby. I feel like we should all storm the Pickles house and save him.
Don't incite violence on the Pickles house now.
Hashtag save Tommy in the comment section below. Let's try to get him saved.
1 like equals 1 prayer. He's been doing a lot of this audience interaction stuff. I've been cutting most of it out, but it's really cringy, where he's like, let me know in the comments what your guess is. I'll wait, I'll give you a moment.
Stu is an unstable guy who has an obsessive personality and makes jello at 4 in the morning.
You do know the context. First off, it's chocolate pudding. It's not jello, so fuck you. But you know the context behind that is because Angelica had a broken arm and made him make the pudding. It has nothing to do with Stu being crazy making jello pudding. It's just him making chocolate pudding at 4 a.m. because he has lost control of his life because of Angelica. God, this guy has never watched the show a goddamn day in his life and is driving me absolutely fucking batshit insane.
Got a lot of serial killer tendencies.
Other than being eccentric, I don't see any.
Within one episode, Stu takes Tommy to the post office to send out some mail, but once Tommy looks inside of the mail chute, he sees a corpse. Maybe Stu was taking Tommy to where he disposes his bodies.
No. It was a visual gag, first off, And second off, why would Stu just dump it in a public place like that? It's a mailman, first off, who clearly fell in there. And that's the visual gag. So, no, just no.
He wanted to introduce Tommy to the family business.
What the fuck?
No. Tommy's 1 year old at most, so no. And it looks like the reason that this video is 45 fucking minutes long is because it's, actually a marathon. So here we go.
From the title of the show that is exclusively about Arnold, false.
I mean, I don't think that because I know the show, and the side characters are actually much more entertaining than Arnold, so no.
But I'm here to share you guys a new perspective.
Please do, because your perspectives have been so fucking spot on as it is.
Hey Arnold is secretly about the antagonist, Helga.
I mean, I wouldn't really call her the antagonist. I guess she kind of is in some extent, but not in every episode. Like, each episodes have different antagonists. I guess Helga is probably the primary antagonist, but it's not really a secret that it's about Helga because it's about a lot of characters. So, no, that's not a secret.
And her depression.
Oh, I see.
She is a mean bully who constantly picks on Arnold.
Yes, because she likes him and doesn't know how to express it. She's like the ultimate tsundere.
Let's review the facts. In the intro, Helga can be heard screaming, "Hey Arnold!"
Yes, she certainly can.
The only person in the show that has her own monologue in every episode.
I don't know if she has one in every episode, but certainly she has the most monologues in the series, I'll give you that, but lots of characters have monologues. Like, look at the story of Mr. Wynn's daughter. I mean, that was a major part of the show.
It could be possible that everything we're seeing is actually from her point of view.
Except it couldn't, because literally not everything is from her point of view. Some things are, certainly, but not everything.
I mean, pretty interesting, right?
No, not really. I already knew a good chunk of the show was from her point of view, so no, not interesting in the slightest.
Isn't that glamorous.
I mean, you're not wrong. She probably does suffer from depression. She has daddy issues because Big Bob doesn't really care about her. I mean, he does, but he really overlooks her because of her older sister Olga. Her mom's clearly an alcoholic, but they call it juice and smoothies in the show, so, you know. I definitely think her being depressed is certainly plausible.
So that's why she feels the need to bully the one person she loves the most.
I mean, that's the first sensible thing you've said in this entire goddamn video.
Extremely neglectful, and her mother is an alcoholic.
Yes, I touched on both those things already.
Maybe the show is all about her obsession with Arnold and how she copes with her miserable life by focusing just on him.
I mean, that's certainly not the whole show, but that's definitely a part of it. How is this a theory? That's what the show is. Like, it's not like that's a secret. Clearly, that is what it is. Like, it's not like what the whole show is, so I think that you're exaggerating a bit there, and it's also clearly not all from her perspective. Because Hey Arnold is an ensemble cast. Arnold's actually my least favorite character in the show, so I don't know what you're getting at. Like, it's not like a big secret that Helga's a major character whose point of view is important. So this is just not a theory, it's just a fact. And it's just him being dumb and trying to say, oh, this is a scary theory. It's not, it's how the show is set up, it's how the dynamic works. Hey Arnold is kind of a dark show at times, it gets really real.
Number 9, we have the real reason why Stoop Kid won't leave his stoop.
Okay, let's hear him out. What is the real reason Stoop Kid won't leave his stoop? Also, why are the first two theories Hey Arnold? Why not mix it up?
There are a lot of dark theories about the show in parts 1 and 2.
I mean, I wouldn't even say that there necessarily has to be dark theories. The show can get pretty dark at times. I mean, it really does. I mean, a major plot point in the show is that Arnold's parents have gone missing in the jungle, and they're presumed dead for the vast majority of the series. Obviously, the Jungle movie resolves that, but prior to that, everyone thought they were dead. Well, I mean, I guess the cliffhanger at the end of Season 5 kind of hinted that they weren't, but still, this show gets pretty dark.
But I'm here again to ruin this TV show for you guys, so...
Again, with how dramatic and dark of a show Hey Arnold is, I don't think that any dark theories about it are going to ruin it. If anything, they'll enhance it.
Kid is a teenage boy who lives on a stoop and harasses people as they walk by. Oh, and he literally never leaves his stoop.
Yes, you are correct.
Not even to pee.
I don't think that's been established. I think he goes inside the house, he just doesn't leave the stoop when he goes outside. I could be wrong on that, but still, I think that's... I don't think it's ever been established that he never leaves even to pee. I think that that's wrong. I think he just never goes past the stoop. And he just sits on it all day when he's outside.
We don't know how he's still functioning, or how his kidneys haven't exploded yet.
Well, because clearly, even if what you say about him not leaving to pee is true, then he still pees somewhere. He probably has a bucket or something, if that's the case.
There's a dark reason as to why Stoop Kid likes to hang out on his stoop.
likes to hang out or doesn't leave even to pee. Those are two very different things.
The word stoop lose all meaning to you guys because I've said it way too many times right now.
You've said way too many things too many times right now, so this isn't inherently unique.
Anyways, it is believed that Stoop Kid is actually being paid to be a lookout for a huge drug operation.
Okay, I mean, that's a fun thought, but it's not true. They get him off the stoop. He didn't want to leave it because he was freaked out to leave the stoop. So when you watch the actual episode, no. I mean, it's a fun thought, but it doesn't really work when you watch the ending of the episode, so no.
That is happening inside. This is the reason why he's so scared and paranoid. Well, there's one episode where Arnold helped him leave his post, and I wonder if the drug dealers or mafia are after him now.
So I'm not even going to bother listening to the rest of this, because it's directly contradicted by the way the episode ends with him finally accepting it and leaving the stoop. He was scared to leave it. That was the fucking point. See, if he was scared to leave because of that, he wouldn't leave. Like, if he really feared for his life. No, he just was scared to leave the stoop. That's a real stretch right there. As is everything else in this goddamn video.
Drake is a burnout, and this takes us over to number 8. Apparently, one of the main characters, Drake, became addicted to smoking weed.
Apparently, as if it's fact, you know, apparently he did. I mean, I could see Drake as the stoner type. That's not that surprising. It's also not fucking scary, so we're moving on.
7. Alright, this next theory will have you scratching your heads just...
Believe me, buddy, this entire video has me scratching my head.
Well, in a previous video, we all learned that Bikini Bottom is a result of a nuclear fallout, right?
Well, I mean, that theory makes a lot more sense than any of the others, because it is inspired by Bikini Atoll, yes, but that doesn't mean that in-universe that's what happened. So, I mean, there's some inspiration there, and I guess that's a fun theory that could theoretically make some kind of theoretical sense, but it's not an established fact, but okay.
In SpongeBob SquarePants, there might be a weird family connection that will shock viewers. Apparently, SpongeBob's pet snail, Gary, and Patrick are actually first cousins.
What the fuck?
No.
So, what you're telling me is that SpongeBob is keeping Patrick's cousin as a pet?
No.
Is this real life right now?
He keeps saying that phrase over and over again. I've cut it out most of the times, but there you go. He keeps saying, is this real life right now? No. First off, it's cartoons. Second off, it's bullshit theories.
Maybe Patrick is pretending to be SpongeBob's friend so that he can free him. And
that's a hell of a fucking stretch.
If you guys notice that Patrick is never in SpongeBob's house, or maybe there's an even darker theory.
You're not just wrong, you're stupid. And you're ugly, just like your mum.
Never in SpongeBob's house? Patrick is never in SpongeBob's house. What the hell are you on about? Patrick goes into SpongeBob's house all the goddamn time.
What if Patrick sold Gary to SpongeBob?
No.
I guess you would call that snail trafficking. Well, I guess I don't know, but either way, that's pretty disturbing if you asked me.
You know, that wasn't very funny.
Where is the evidence to this theory? Patrick and Gary are cousins. I'm not going to tell you why, they just are. Just accept it, please. What the hell is wrong with you? At least give some goddamn evidence for it. Fuck.
Okay, guys, prepare yourselves for this one, because this next theory will have you questioning your childhood. The fairly...
No, because fiction doesn't do that to me. Look, fiction's a big part of my childhood, but it doesn't control it. Lots of other things were a contributor to my childhood. Granted, there are plenty of nostalgic things I look back on fondly, and that's a big part of it. But no. And also, I'm gonna fast forward this instead of cutting it out, because he keeps giving these really annoying long summaries of the shows when he should just get on to the goddamn theories. He's clearly padding it out for time.
Sounds like a miserable premise for a show, doesn't it? Well, what if I told you that these two godparents were actually just his imagination?
Oh boy, it's his imagination. Yet another trademark bad theory that always happens to have it's an imagination. It's in their head. It's a coma. Alright, let's hear him out. What's he saying?
And the result of drugs.
Yeah, I'm not going to hear him out on that one anymore.
It's about another character from the show called Crazy Steve, who...
Yes, Crazy Steve is a fantastic character, and I love him.
Well, after the final season, Crazy Steve murdered Drake and Josh.
Shut up!
No, just no. Why? Why do you do this? As Josh would say, you give me headaches.
Yeah, that's right. Doug makes another appearance on our list, and I kid you not, it's probably my favorite cartoon on this list.
No offense, but I think that's kind of shit taste, because Doug's really fucking boring in my opinion.
This one makes me really sad, because apparently Doug is not only insane, but he's a bit of a racist.
Look, again, I didn't really watch Doug, but just no, absolutely not. There's characters with like green and blue and purple and whatever skin in this show. I don't think race is something that matters to the characters in it, so just no, fuck you, I'm skipping this one.
I guess I can't be friends with Doug.
Before moving on, I'll just say you can't anyway because he's a fucking fictional character. Stop it.
Number 3, Doug escaped from an insane asylum.
Fuck off.
Is this how that they can afford to live in such a big house? Did you guys ever question it? Well,
No, I never questioned it. They don't live in a particularly big house. What are you on about? They live in a moderate house. I mean, it's got 2 floors, sure, but that's not anything too crazy. That's like upper middle class. It's not that crazy.
Dee is a part-time teacher, and we can all assume what she does with the rest of her time.
Takes care of her kids, does shopping, spends time with her husband.
I just hope Tommy doesn't grow up and find some of her videos in the house.
Where are you getting this idea exactly? Like, granted, these are out of order because he mentioned this in the Stu's a Serial Killer one, but it's, no.
This theory was started after some of the animators began drawing her in seductive clothing.
Yeah, animators do shit like that. What's your point?
I don't know why they would ruin the cartoon like that.
Okay, you fucking prude. I guess it ruins the cartoon for a fucking Puritan like you.
Obviously, none of the drawings of her ever made it to the show.
Well, then it ruins the show even less because it's not even fucking in it. You do realize that studios that make kid shows have jokes inside the studio all the time that are certainly not appropriate for the audience the shows are actually aimed at, right? Like that episode, Rockabye Bivalve, the one with SpongeBob and Patrick raise the scallop. Turns out that that's actually the working title of that was Why Sex Doesn't Work, and that was just like a joke in the studio. It wasn't obviously meant for the show, but yeah, so that kind of shit happens all the time. I don't see how that ruins anything.
So why bother?
I have been thinking that increasingly with every single second of watching this nonsense.
I guess the animators must have been pretty bored because, well, they have a crazy imagination because...
Yes, cartoon animators have wild imaginations because they draw cartoons.
Yes, I know, shocking.
I would never imagine Diddy being an adult performer. I don't know. Here's another dark theory from the Fairly Odd Parents. Well, apparently Timmy is a young kid with an extremely rough life.
Yes, that is the premise to the show. Where's the theory?
His grandparents died in a car crash when he was younger, so that's why he imagines that they are watching over him because his parents obviously don't care about him.
No. Just no.
Would the real Inspector Gadget please stand up?
No, not funny. That was really bad.
Inspector Gadget has nothing to do with fucking Nickelodeon, so I'm gonna skip it this time because I'm getting tired of you including non-Nick shows on a Nickelodeon video.
Penguins of Madagascar are actually dead soldiers. Yeah.
This is getting really repetitive and stupid. I'm skipping this one too, I'm sorry.
Cat dog are a product of a nuclear fallout.
I mean, I guess they could be. Cat dog are... What are they? Aren't their parents, like, revealed in, like, the movie or something in the final episode? I don't know, I haven't watched Cat Dog in a minute. But barring any, discrepancies in the final episode, because I think the final episode leaves it kind of ambiguous as to what they are, too. So, I mean, maybe. Not particularly scary. I mean, I guess it's kind of dark, but I don't know. I'm gonna move on from it, because there's a lot of shit to get through in this, so... Fair, we'll say that one's plausible, provided he didn't say any stupid shit, but I'm gonna forego it anyway.
Roger from Doug was abused as a child.
Again, I don't really have any interest in Doug, so we're moving on.
Things get pretty messed up at number 5. Max and Ruby are dead. Okay, I'm sorry to do this to you guys, but maybe our favorite, or at least our favorite bunnies are actually dead.
No, they're actually dead thing I'm just gonna skip, because it's fucking dumb and repetitive and annoying. Yes.
Rocco's modern life is pretty perverted, and this takes us to number 4.
Yes, Rocco's modern life is perverted, but it's not Rocco's modern life, it's Rocco's. I mean, maybe I'm being a dick on pronunciation here, but come on.
And it was targeted towards both children and adults, but it suffered from a lot of controversy because it had a lot of sexual innuendos.
Yes, it did. I brought this up earlier when we were talking about Ren and Stimpy. Rocco, like I said, probably more controversial, but that's debatable.
And other content that was definitely not appropriate for kids.
Yes, very true. But not a theory. Where's the theory? Come on, get to the theory. So, guess what? There was no theory there. It was literally just him describing the controversial aspects of the show. There was no theory.
Number 3, Rocco's neighbor was definitely way too into him.
I like how it says pedophile detected, as if Rocco's a child. Rocco is an adult. You do realize that, right? He works a full-time job. And he drives a car. And he became a phone sex operator, so clearly he is not a child. So when you say his neighbor's a pedophile because it was into him, maybe you're just using that word stupidly, but that's not true at all. Leapfrogs was an episode where Mrs. Bighead tried to fuck Rocco, but there's nothing illegal about that. Maybe immoral because she's married, but it's not illegal. Because they're both adults in the show.
It's no secret that Rocco's Modern Life was a cartoon that children should definitely not watch.
Disagree. I think it's a fantastic show, and I think it's fine for kids to watch, even though it is a little inappropriate at times. I think that it's just the right level that it'll go over their heads, as it did mine when I was a kid, and why I appreciate it much more as an adult.
It was full of innuendos and inappropriate humor.
Yes, it certainly was. We've been over this. You literally mentioned that a few minutes ago.
But this next theory will haunt your dreams.
I doubt that very much.
Well, there was one episode where Rocco's neighbor was a little bit too friendly for our liking. Apparently their neighbor is a and he's on the registry, and he's trying to lure Rocco into coming over to his house. In that episode, he tried to use racy videos inviting him over, and he even tried to inappropriately dance with him.
Wait a minute, you keep saying he. You think it's Ed Bighead that wanted to fuck Rocco? No! It was Mrs. Bighead, it was Bev! What the hell is wrong with you? Why do you keep saying he? It was Bev Bighead trying to fuck Rocco, and that doesn't make her a pedophile or on the sex offender registry, because she literally just wanted to fuck her neighbor, which goes against the vows of her marriage, but isn't illegal because they're both adults, you fucking moron.
It was just super awkward to watch. Like, not as a kid, because I'm not thinking like that as a kid, but watching it as an adult.
Are you an adult? You don't seem to think Rocco is, so maybe you're not.
You find out about a lot of things. Actually, this whole show was super awkward, so I have nothing more to say about it, so let's move on.
He's not even going to try to claim that Rocco's a child or anything. He's just going to expect you to not, like, think about the words he was using and how fucking stupid that whole entire segment was.
And finally, topping our list, at number 1, we have the 7 Deadly Sins.
I've heard this one before. They do the same thing with Winnie the Pooh, where they try to make each character into one of the 7 deadly sins. I mean, Mr. Krabs is clearly going to be greed, right? Patrick's going to be gluttony. What's SpongeBob going to be? Squidward's going to be pride, right? No, Sandy would be pride. I don't know. Squidward would be wrath, I guess. Maybe, kind of. And again, I'm not saying this theory holds any sort of credence. I'm just trying to come up with my own ways to actually explain it. Actually, Squidward would be envy, wouldn't he? I'm overthinking this. Let's hear what bullshit he has to say.
Shall we? Apparently one of the main characters represents one of the 7 deadly sins. Patrick is sloth because he's lazy. Squidward is wrath because he's always angry. Mr. Krabs is greed, and that's pretty obvious in the show. Sandy represents pride. Plankton is envy. Gary is gluttony because he's always hungry, and SpongeBob is lust. Now that I'm aware of this theory, I actually look at these characters very different when I...
Okay, I guess that's a way to look at it, but no, that's retarded. SpongeBob being lust doesn't really make any sense, because Steve Hillenburg has confirmed that SpongeBob is asexual, because guess what? He's a sponge. Sponges are asexual. That is true. Also, why would Gary be gluttony? He's a snail that eats. You feed pets. You don't want him to starve. That doesn't make him gluttony. That's dumb. You're dumb. I'm very mean in this video, and I apologize in advance for that.
Okay, so the true origin of the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles starts off this list at number 10. Try to say that 10 times fast.
No, I'm not gonna do that. Fuck you.
I was definitely a huge fan of the movies, and I was so happy that the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles became a TV series, and it...
The TV series came before the movies. There was an 80s TV series.
Actually aired on Nickelodeon between 2012 and 2017.
The newest iteration did, sure, but there was an 80s version, a 2003 version, a follow-up to that called Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Fast Forward. Not to mention, if you go far enough back, I'm pretty sure it started as a comic.
According to the show, Splinter found 4 baby turtles covered in an alien mutagen.
The mutagen isn't necessarily alien, it is in some versions, but I don't know about the Nickelodeon version because I haven't watched it, but yeah.
But let's challenge this theory for a moment.
How is it a theory if it's the canon lore of the show?
How would a turtle be physically attracted to April O'Neil?
It's a humanoid turtle. It's a cartoon turtle. It doesn't have to use your goddamn logic. And also, they're not necessarily attracted to April. I mean, I guess they kind of are, sort of, but I'd say that's more Casey that's into April because they have a thing.
And what's up with their insatiable hunger for pizza?
Hey man, it's pizza time. Fuck you.
These don't sound like typical turtle tendencies or...
These are not typical turtles, one would say. I don't think typically turtles are Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, so I don't think they're really typical turtles there, Chief. So I think it's fine.
Well, a Reddit user by the name of Killjoy95 claims that Splinter was so desperate to have his own children, especially since his daughter Maiwa disappeared. So he kidnapped human babies, and he might have accidentally, or maybe did it on purpose, he exposed them to mutant gens with turtle DNA.
I mean, that's not the craziest thing in the world. That's one of the better theories on this list, I guess, but still, no.
Do you guys remember this one? I kinda do. Well, let's take a look at their parenting history, shall we? The Thornberries are pretty wrapped up in their own work, which makes them way too busy to focus on their kids.
So yeah, that's true, but where's the theory? Tell me the fucking theory or I'm gonna fast forward you again.
Maybe back home someone called CAS on them, so they keep moving from place to place, so you know what, they won't be found.
They're gonna be found because Nigel broadcasts on TV and is a very public person, so no.
And because they neglect their children, Eliza tries to cope with her depression, and she has delusions that she can talk to animals because they're the only ones that seem to care about her.
Yeah, I mean, maybe. I mean, you could argue with Eliza it might be, you know, a hallucination if you don't factor in the movie and the fact that, you know, Debbie actually finds out about it and stuff like that. But, you know, if you ignore the movie, I guess you could kind of say maybe. But again, I'd still say no. But again, more plausible than some of the fucking drivel you've been saying through this whole bullshit.
All of the Thornberries were on drugs, and this brings us to number 8.
No, we're not doing the drugs thing anymore. I'm skipping anything to do with drugs now because I'm getting really annoyed with it.
Next up, number 7, we're talking about the Power Rangers.
Not a Nickelodeon show, skipping it because fuck you.
Jimmy Neutron and his friends are genetically engineered children, and this dark theory brings us to number 6.
I mean, they can breathe in space, so maybe. But I'm also going to say probably not. I think it's just cartoon logic. But, you know, let's hear him out, because what could possibly go wrong, as Bubsy once said. Wise man Bubsy.
I used to love watching the show after school, and for those of you guys who are crazy enough to not watch it, well, and if you guys don't know what it's about, you guys are insane.
I don't think it's insane to not know what the show's about if you haven't seen it. I think that everyone should have seen it. It was a great show, but no.
But now I'm shocked to find out that Jimmy and his friends are all genetically engineered kids who are given a superpower.
Well, I don't think they have superpowers. I mean, Jimmy's super smart, but the rest of them don't really have super abilities of any kind, but okay.
Then they were placed in a fake family in order to bring out their powers, and the rest of the town is made up of government-employed actors.
Okay, every single thing that I said to give credit to this one, because, you know, they can breathe in space and stuff, no. This theory is fucking garbage, because he's taking it to other extremes, and I was like, oh, maybe they are genetically modified or something because they can breathe in space. That's a fun idea. But no, you had to ruin it and say, oh, no, government, you know, cover-up, you know, government experiments, fake families, bad. Fuck you. We're not continuing down this train of thought.
Stu from Rugrats is suffering from clinical depression.
I mean, it's certainly possible. A lot of his inventions fail and he can't succeed, so maybe.
And this brings us to number 5. When you stop to think about it, it's kind of obvious that Stu Pickles isn't acting like, you know, how a father should be acting.
That's debatable. I think Stu's an okay father. I mean, he maybe doesn't pay attention as much as he should, but that's literally every parent in the show. Because the babies are little rapscallions and run off all the time.
It's 4 o'clock in the morning. Why on earth are you making chocolate pudding?
Because I've lost control of my life.
See, the joke of that episode is because Angelica is making him do it because she broke her arm. We've been over this earlier.
In an episode, he wakes up at 4 a.m. just to make pudding because his life is just falling apart.
And again, no, it's not just because his life is falling apart. No, it's because he fucking had to take care of Angelica, who is a hellion, and she has a broken arm, so she's even more of a fucking hellion.
Then in another episode, he falls off the roof, starts acting and talking like a baby.
Yes, he hit his head.
And let's not forget the fact that Tommy can basically do whatever he wants to do.
Sure, Tommy does do that, but that's just because Tommy is a smart baby and escapes from his playpen all the time.
So this makes me wonder, is Stu, is he actually alright? Are you alright, Stu?
Again, maybe he is a little depressed. I wouldn't be surprised.
4. Timmy's life has been hard enough. I mean, we've talked about Timmy on this channel.
Yes, you certainly have.
In our other Nickelodeon Theory videos, we learned that Timmy's parents are pretty neglectful, so as a lot of the parents on these TV shows, and they continuously hire the babysitter from hell to watch their son.
Yes, that's true. That happens in the show.
I'm pretty sure their babysitter is a psychopath and abuses Timmy, but that's a whole other theory. So getting back...
Yeah, and where's the theory? Tell me the theory, please. I mean, I guess the psychopath thing is maybe technically a theory, but I don't really think it's that debatable. I think it's pretty obvious she doesn't have any empathy. So, I mean, that's not really a whole other theory, that's just kind of the nature of the show.
Back to Timmy's dad. Apparently he hates his son.
I mean, this one's kind of believable in all honesty, because Timmy's dad is very neglectful, and it does kind of seem like maybe Timmy was a mistake and he doesn't want him, but I don't think he necessarily hates his son, because they still have bonding time and whatnot.
And wishes that he was never born.
Again, maybe it was a mistake and he doesn't wish he was born. That's certainly possible.
In one episode, his dad talks about how his life was ruined years ago, and Timmy asked how long ago did that happen, and his dad responded by asking, how old are you?
In fairness, that's a common dad joke, so, I mean, that's not necessarily proof. Dads say that kind of shit all the time.
Imagine that your own parent sees you as the reason why their life fell apart.
I mean, I'm sure there's plenty of people that had to deal with that. I'm lucky I didn't. My parents are great.
But with all good things, there is also a dark side. Many people believe that Dora has some mental health issues.
Yeah, Dora has Down syndrome. I personally agree with this theory just because it's funny to say.
Max and Ruby is a cartoon about two young bunny siblings who get into a lot of adventures. But the crazy thing is, we never see their parents, so what really happened to them? Well,
I mean, I always inferred that they died, in fairness. That's what I always just kind of thought.
the real reason why their parents aren't seen on the show is because they died in a car accident on their way to pick up Ruby from Bunny Scouts.
Now, is that actually canon lore, or are you making this as a theory? Because I believe it. I just don't know if he's actually just trying to make this as a theory or if that's true. Because I frankly haven't watched enough Max and Ruby to know. I watched a little bit of it when I was younger, but I think I was a little old for it, to be honest. Like, I think it was a little after my time.
Max is in the car and survived, but now suffers from brain injuries, so that's why Max is always messing up in the show, and his sister Ruby has to take care of him and watch him closely.
I mean, I could believe that too. That kid seems pretty retarded. You know what? I'll give you this one. You win 1 point over negative $1 billion, but, you know, you got one back.
Number 1, we have each character on the SpongeBob SquarePants represents a different type of drug. Okay.
This is too similar to the 7 Deadly Sins one. I'm skipping it.
Number 10. During the show Hey Arnold, Arnold was a young boy who was living with his grandparents. On the surface, his grandparents seemed like sweet and loving, you know, caregivers, but there might be something more sinister going on there. Do you guys remember the movie The Visit? Well,
yes, that movie was fucking terrible.
well, some fans of the show believe that at sundown, Arnold's grandparents locked him up in his room so that they can carry out some pretty disturbing things.
Yeah, no, I'm not gonna give this one too much screen time. Look, Arnold's grandma's a weirdo. She might be schizophrenic. But I don't think that they're just doing all this weird shit and locking him in his room at night, because he leaves his room at night a lot of the time. So I completely disagree with you. I think you're retarded. No offense.
Well, Krabby Patty's meat slides onto this list at number 9. According to a fan theory on Twitter, Krabby Patty's secret formula is a kept secret for a very obvious reason. Well, his secret formula is crabs. I mean,
I've heard this theory before. It's actually fairly believable. I do think it could be some sort of fish meat, if not crabs, so I think it's perfectly possible that there's some sort of weird cannibalism thing in SpongeBob. But I think I'm going to move on. It's fairly self-explanatory.
Pinky and the Brain, one of my favorite cartoons.
Mine too, but it's not from Nickelodeon, so fuck you, I'm skipping it. I skipped another one about Doug and another It Was All in His Head Blue's Clues type one. You're not missing much.
Number 5. He is keeping a massive secret from us all, and to be honest, I feel a little bit betrayed.
Cringe.
So what's his big secret? Well, Squidward
secretly likes Krabby Patties.
isn't even a squid.
Now, I've seen a lot of things that say he's actually an octopus. I remember I actually had, like, some paper towels that were official SpongeBob paper towels that said that, so there you go.
That's not the case in this situation. Some fan theories have claimed that Squidward is actually an octopus.
Yes, how terrifying that Squidward is actually an octopus. Such a scary theory.
Who lost 2 limbs, so basically Squidward is an octopus that only has 6 limbs.
I mean, sure, why not?
I mean, it's a pretty creepy theory when you think about it.
I mean, I don't think it's that creepy. I mean, losing some limbs, I mean, that's terrible, but I mean, he's still got, you know, 6 of them, so he's fine.
And was this because of a birth defect, or did he lose it in an epic fight over some Krabby Patties?
No, not funny.
Maybe this is the reason why Squidward is so miserable all the time. Maybe he's in pain all the time as well.
That's not how losing a limb works. Yeah, it'll be painful at first, but eventually, once the wounds heal, you may not have the limbs back, but it's not going to be physically painful anymore.
Arnold's parents come crashing onto this list at number 4. And of course, we're talking about the show Hey Arnold. Well, according to one crazy dark theory, Hey Arnold's parents died from a drug overdose.
Why is it always drugs? Why do you do this? Are you trying to tell me something? No, his parents didn't die. The Jungle movie proved that. Moving on.
Arnold's real parents are his grandparents, and...
No, similarly, no. The Jungle movie proves that that is not the case.
Penelope Chains killed Amanda Bynes on The Amanda Show in at number 2. I didn't really watch this show.
Penelope Taint? Do you mean Penelope Tate? Is that her porno persona, Penelope Taint? No. Just no. She does not kill Amanda. There's no evidence to that. Yeah, she's a crazy fan. Yeah, she's stalkery, but there is no evidence to suggest she killed her or ever even thought about killing her. So no, fuck you. I would have much more accepted the theory that they are the same person since they're both played by Amanda Bynes.
Well, for you guys who haven't seen it, it's about a group of friends who call themselves the Midnight Society. It's really creepy. It was pretty cool though. Well, they meet up in the forest and they like to tell scary stories around the campfire. But apparently all of the members, well, they're actually all dead. And
ah yes, they're all dead. That's enough of that. Fuck the they were all dead thing. I'm done. I'm fucking done. Fuck you. That's the last one on the video anyway, so fuck you. We're done. You are terrible. Bring back Bob Ross, motherfucker, because he was at least somewhat charismatic. You are awful. You should not be on this channel. No ill will towards you as a person, but goddamn, you are a terrible narrator, and this is a terrible video.